completed include the Mindanao-Visayas Interconnection Project, completed in January 2024, the Cebu-Negros Panay Stage 3 Transmission Project, completed in March 2024, the Hermosa-San Jose Transmission Project, completed in July 2024, and the Cebu-Bohol Interconnection Project, Line 1, completed in December 2024. Next, please. In the upstream sector, the President recently awarded 8 petroleum service contracts, including 2 contracts for native hydrogen exploration. In total, there are now 22 active service contracts being monitored and supervised by the Department of Energy. From June 2022 to June 2025, the country's 2 producing oil and gas fields generated around 1,300 million barrels of oil, 217 billion cubic feet of gas, and 46 million barrels of associated condensate. The Malampaya Phase 4 project has commenced its implementation as part of the Service Contract 38, the renewal agreement. The project aims to undertake the drilling of Camagos 3, Malampaya East 1, and the Bagong Pag-asa 1, which will extend the life of the gas field and to increase the country's indigenous energy supply. Next slide, please. Since the enactment of the RE law way back in 2008, the DOE has awarded a total of more than 1,000 or almost 1,400 RE projects with 7 gigawatts already installed and a potential capacity of around 150 gigawatts. So the DOE is also prioritizing offshore wind development, including the necessary port infrastructure to support it. Also, for the Chair's information, the Philippines rank as the 2nd most attractive emerging market for RE investments based on the Bloomberg NEF Climate Scope 2024 report. So this is a testament of our efforts for clean and sustainable energy in the country. Next, please. When it comes to biofuels blending, under Section 5 of the Biofuels Law, it mandates the use of locally sourced biofuels before importing that will be blended with the liquid fuels for motors and engines sold in the Philippines. So the current blend being implemented is the 3% or what we call the B3 with biodiesel, and the 10% or the E10 for bioethanol. The recent National Biofuels Board resolution issued this year suspended the implementation of the B4 and B5 mandated blend, citing the anticipated impact on pump prices and the potential inflationary effects to the country. Next slide, please. So the utilization of natural gas is a transition fuel, is viewed to support and complement the variability of RE in the grid. So the passage of the Philippine Natural Gas Industry Development Act in January 2025 intends to increase the share of natural gas in the country's energy mix by promoting it as a safe, efficient, and cost-effective source of energy, as well as an indispensable contributor to energy security. So we even issued the corresponding implementing rules and regulation in April of this year. In addition, the DOE also issued another DC providing the guidelines for the prioritization in the procurement and utilization of indigenous natural gas. Next slide, please. So the DOE implements energy efficiency and conservation as a national way of life for the country, covering the following programs under the Government Energy Management Program, or what we call GEM. The cumulative savings reach 33.55 gigawatt hour and 0.61 million liters of fuel, equivalent to 422 million in savings. So this is enough to generate power to cover 2,000 homes for a year. The energy efficiency projects carried out by the Energy Service Company and the designated establishments yielded around 9 billion in investments equivalent to 778 gigawatt hour or 8.5 billion pesos in savings. So the savings generated would be enough to cover or to power 210,000 homes for a year. And through the Philippine Energy Labeling Program, the 15,673 energy labels were issued, covering television, refrigerators, aircon, lighting products, washing machines, and electric fan. And lastly, on the Vehicle Fuel Economy Labeling Program, now covered 63 land transportation vehicles. Next slide, please. Based on our initiative to decarbonize the transport sector, this would entail reducing our dependence on oil and therefore would also reduce our reliance on imported fuels. And the passage of the Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act in 2022 sent a clear signal of the government's regulation and development of electric vehicles in the country. So the formulation of the comprehensive roadmap for electric vehicle industry, or what we call CREVI, intends to accelerate EV adoption, and it sets a minimum 10% EV share in the vehicle fleet by 2040 under the business as usual scenario, with an ambitious target of refleeting 50% of all vehicle fleets by the same year under the clean energy scenario. Correspondingly, the department or the DOE is also set to issue policies on the mandated installations of electric vehicle charging station and then and also the mandated EV share. Next slide, please. On nuclear energy program, so the passage of Republic Act 12305 or the Philippine National Nuclear Energy Safety Act would provide the institutional and regulatory framework to ensure the peaceful, safe, and secure use of nuclear energy in the country. It also it will also establish the Philippine Atomic Energy Regulatory Authority, or what we call PhilAtom, a quasi-judicial body with exclusive jurisdiction over nuclear energy regulation. So the DOE issued a circular last October 2 of this year, providing a policy framework for the integration of nuclear energy in the country's generation mix. So this establishes the foundation for the Philippines' first commercially developed and operated nuclear power plant, designated as Pioneer Nuclear Power Plant. So the Philippine Energy Plan 2023 to 2050 also outlines a phase entry of nuclear power. And to sustain momentum, the Nuclear Energy Program Interagency Committee has set targets covering legal frameworks and the IAEA compliance, public acceptance, the human resource and supply chain development, regulatory setup, and the initial bidding, construction, and operation of nuclear power plants. On the 123 agreement, the U.S. Secretary of Energy issued a secretarial determination last September of this year. So this added the Philippines and Singapore to the list of generally authorized destinations under 10 CFR Part 810 regulations. At this point, Mr. Chair, I'd like to pass the microphone to Assistant Secretary Navarro to present our proposed budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sino Cruz. Good morning to all. Allow me to proceed, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
The total proposed budget of the Department of Energy for fiscal year 2026 is 3.8 billion. 64% or 2.4 billion is allocated to the agency-specific budget, which is Fund 101, while the 1.4 billion or 36% is allocated to the special account in the General Fund or Fund 151. The DOE's budgetary priorities under agency-specific budget, which is Fund 101, is the implementation of all the agencies' major programs, particularly ISSP and capital outlay requirements, increase in manpower complement, operational requirements of the newly created Nuclear Energy Division. The bulk of the increase includes those expenses related to the said major programs. Under Fund 151, or the special account in the general fund, the proposed budget accounts for 36% or 1.4 billion pesos. Under this fund, the priorities for 2026 includes the following: Nuclear Energy Development Program, promotion of energy efficiency and conservation, alternative fuels for transport and other purposes, the total electrification project, and the ISSP and capital outlay requirements. By allotment class, 51% or 1.9 billion is for maintenance and other operating expenses. 982 million or 26% is for capital outlay, while 910 million or 23% is allocated for personnel services, including retirement and life insurance premiums. Next slide, please.
Before you continue, ASEC, let me recognize the presence of Senator Marcoleta. Go ahead, ASEC.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This slide shows the National Energy Expenditure Program for 2026 per major program, covering both regular programs and the special account in the general fund. Among the programs presented, the Electric Power Industry Development Program will receive the highest allocation at 676 million, followed by the Energy Efficiency and Conservation and Alternative Fuels and Technologies programs. By budget utilization, covering the period from 2019 up to September of 2025, fiscal year 2023 recorded the highest utilization rate of 99%, with 2.331 billion pesos obligated out of the 2.362 billion pesos total budget allotment for that year. On the other hand, the highest disbursement rate was recorded in fiscal year 2024, with 85% or 2.251 billion pesos disbursed out of the 2.653 billion pesos obligated. This slide shows, in line with the Department of Energy's objective to ensure energy security for the country, we respectfully seek the committee's consideration for additional funding for fiscal year 2026 to support our proposed Philippine Gradiometry and Scientific Survey project, which aims to acquire modern geophysical data to enhance the petroleum prospectivity of underexplored areas in the Philippines. For fiscal year 2026, or in its first phase of implementation, the project has a proposed budget of 626 million pesos with a total project cost of 2.79 billion pesos over its 4-year implementation period. Next slide, please. Presented our priority legislative agenda. The key legislative priorities of the Department of Energy are amendments to the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, which will strengthen the ERC, NEA, and the powers of the DOE. Amendments to DOI Deregulation Act, which shall incorporate fair trade practices and safeguards, as well as the authority of the President to suspend or reduce excise taxes on fuels. Amendments to Biofuels Act that will allow imported blend if domestic supply is expensive. Waste-to-energy bill, which aims to allow the use of waste-to-energy technologies in electricity, fuel, and heat generation. Energy Transition Act, which mandates the country's preparation of the energy transition plan that shall include national targets, annual target reduction of GHG emissions, and compliance mechanisms. And the last is the Energy Storage Bill, which aims to improve the reliability and flexibility of the grid to accommodate the growing demand for cleaner and renewable energy sources of electricity, such as, but not limited to, solar and wind as part of the country's just transition plans. Under the reference scenario of the Philippine Energy Plan 2023 to 2050, we see a significant expansion in power generation from 111.52 TWH in 2022 to about 453.81 TWH by 2050. In 2022, coal provided nearly 60% of the country's power supply. By 2050, this significantly drops to 14%, reflecting our efforts to transition to cleaner and more sustainable energy sources. At the same time, natural gas plays a critical role as a transition fuel. Its share increases from 16% in 2022 to 35% by 2050, giving reliability and flexibility support to balance variable renewable energy while ensuring a stable power system. Mr. Chair, that ends our presentation. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, ASEC. We now go to ERC, represented by Chairman Juan.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this opportunity for us to present the Commission and its proposed budget, as well as its major accomplishments over these past few months. So next slide, please. So the ERC is a quasi-judicial, quasi-legislative body that was created pursuant to EPIRA, and its fundamental mandates are, among them would be to regulate the rates of the distribution and transmission sectors and promote competition, particularly in the generation and supply sectors, all with the purpose of promoting and protecting consumer welfare. Next slide, please. So these are our constituencies. First would be, of course, the consumers, then the two regulated sectors, and then the competitive sectors. Next slide, please. So at a glance, these are the industry stakeholders for the electric power industry. We have the generation companies, in whose favor we issue the certificates of compliance before they can commercially operate. And then we have the transmission concessionaire, NGCP, whose rates are regulated by the ERC. And for the distribution, the 142 distribution utilities composed of 120 electric cooperatives and 22 private utilities. And then the 154 licensed retail suppliers that operate in the retail sector. Next slide, please. So these are the major accomplishments in terms of numbers done by the ERC from January 2024 to September 2025. being a quasi-judicial body, we issue orders and decisions on cases filed with ERC. And among the cases filed would be power supply agreements, rate reset, approvals of CAPEX, approvals of point-to-point connections by generation companies, and as well as issuance of orders penalizing industry participants for violation of rules, and issuance of rules and regulations to govern the different sectors of the power industry. Next slide, please. So, just to zero in on the accomplishments of the ERC these past 2 months, from August to October 2025, we have already issued 449 decisions and orders. Of these, 78 were final decisions, 310 were final orders, and 61 orders were interlocutory, and they are either the provisional authorities and interim relief orders. We have also, as part of our licensing functions, issued already 1,658 certificates of compliances, provisional authorities to operate, and the COC for our distributed energy resources for the net metering customers or the qualified end users, and we've issued 1 retail electricity supply license. Insofar as the issuance of the relevant rules and regulations that will govern our rate setting moving forward, we have actually already approved the revised or the rationalized rules for setting the distribution utilities rates under the PBR, and together with the issuance and approval of this resolution, we had to decide on what valuation methodology to adopt for Meralco in relation to the Supreme Court ruling in Nasicor versus Meralco, and we have adopted the trending method for this so it can also proceed. And finally, we have issued the resolution that will require the filing by the private distribution utilities of their confirmation, true-up and confirmation applications, or what we call the actual weighted average tariff applications of the various distribution utilities, similar to what Meralco has filed, that resulted to the refund order that was issued by the ERC earlier. Next slide, please. Insofar as the rulemaking, in addition to the rules governing the way forward for the reset for the private distribution utilities, we have promulgated the amendments to the net metering rules so we can streamline further the application process for the net metering in compliance with the directives of the President as announced in the SONA. We have also adopted some rules that will simplify and speed up some of our processes with the adoption of the summary proceedings in various applications, category of applications filed before ERC, such as those for P2P or point-to-point CAPEX, over under CPCN and BSUP or business separation and bundling. We have also adopted some amendments already to the customer choice programs rules that will make it easier for the applicants to a RES license to be able to obtain such license, so we can encourage the entry of more RES in our retail sector. Then we have also issued and adopted the amendments to our Section 43T guidelines, or the public offering requirement, and these guidelines or these amendments will actually prevent the discrimination of the smaller generation companies, because currently if the requirement is imposed indiscriminately on all the generation companies and distribution utilities, not all will be able to comply with the mode of compliance that is through the PSE listing, because not all of them are in possession of the qualifications to be able to publicly list. We have also several other various resolutions that we issued for public consultation, and we hope to be able to conclude our consultations thereon and issue these resolutions or amendments to these resolutions before the year ends. Next slide, please. So these are just some of our targets until end of 2025, and that will include the proposed amendments to the Philippine Grid Code and the JAP resolutions in support of the DOE's JAP auctioning, and the amendments to our CSP rules and the adoption of the ASPA rules. This pertains to the adoption of the outcome of the competitive selection process in the review by ERC of the power supply agreements filed before it. Next slide, please. So these are our major trusts for 2026, for which we would be needing the budget that we are proposing now, and these are the major trusts. We will continue to perform our mandate to set the rates of the distribution utilities and the NGCP. We will address the backlog by coming out with timely resolution of all pending cases. We will enhance our oversight and our monitoring of the competitive sectors. We will come out with decisions that are predictable and rational. And of course, in the performance of all this, we shall have always the interest of the consumers in mind.
Chairman, before you continue, let me acknowledge the presence of Senator J.V. Arcito.
Thank you. So next slide, please. These are the 5 major thrusts. And for our budget is a slight reduction from our last year's approved budget. Our proposed was 906 million, but the NEP was slightly reduced to 905 million. Next slide, please. So that is a slight reduction owing to the reduction in PS budget. Next slide. So insofar as our utilization, we are trying to address this. Right now, we are already above 50% utilization, and this will further increase before the year ends, because bulk of the unutilized budget right now of ERC is on consultancy. And with our recent adoption of the RRDWR to finally restart the reset process for the private distribution utilities, we shall be able to make good use of this remaining budget. And right now, our BAC is already preparing for the procurement of these needed resources to assist us in our rate reset process, which we anticipate will happen with the filing by the first group, Meralco included, by January 19, 2026, of their rate reset applications. Next slide, please. So again, that is the utilization rate over the years. Next slide. And in terms of the revenues that we are able to earn out of the supervision and regulatory fees, including the penalties that we are able to collect on behalf of the National Treasury, we have already at present 1.3 billion remittance to the National Treasury versus our budget of 906. So we are actually contributing more than what we are being allocated as our budget. Next slide, please. So that will be all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Juan. Next will be Administrator Almeda of the NEA.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. The The National Electrification Administration hereby presents its fiscal year 2026 corporate operating budget as included in the National Expenditure Program of the government in the amount of 9,469,417,000. First, may we humbly present the NEA's recent accomplishments. NEA is primarily responsible for pursuing and implementing the state's rural electrification program to bring electricity even in missionary or economically unviable areas in the countryside through the electric cooperatives as its implementing arm. With the combined efforts of NEA and the electric cooperatives, the rural electrification program has reached its 16th million consumer connection in 2024. As of July 31, 2025, the data on the energization status of the franchise areas of the ECs shows that 79 provinces, 1,485 municipalities and cities, 36,067 barangays, 130,519 sitios, and 16.81 million connections have been provided with electricity. The NEA targets to energize its 17th million connection in December 2025. The NEA, currently in its Phase 2 in situ electrification program, has already energized 10,270 sitios, equivalent to 54% of the 19,087 target, based on the master plan submitted by the EC's utilization rate for years 2020 and 2024 ranges. Utilization rate for years 2020 to 2024 ranges from 96 to 99%. Remaining balances of which consist of retention balances and savings, which will be further used for priority projects. For 2025, GAA projects are either in the procurement or construction phase. Nonetheless, we were able to energize 805 sitios as of September 30, 2025. For barangay line enhancement projects, the NEA already enhanced 34 barangay lines sourced from the savings from prior year subsidy. For 2025 BLEP, projects are either ongoing, bidding, or implementation. Next slide, please. The NEA's new flagship program, which utilizes renewable energy, is the photovoltaic mainstreaming project. This project aims to provide electricity service to dispersed households where distribution lines are either physically or technically unviable, for extension through standalone solar home systems. As of September 2025, 40 ECs are implementing solar home systems project, while 7 ECs implement installation of solar facility in public school buildings. Relatively, the NEA and DepEd entered into a memorandum of agreement to energize far-off schools that remain without reliable access to electricity, commonly known as the last-mile schools. The first energization ceremony under the program was held at Datu Saldong Domino Elementary School. This is the first out of the 295 planned projects under the Last Mile School Electrification Program for the year 2025. The remaining projects are intended to be fully bidded out by the end of the year. In response to the clamor of member consumer owners, NEA promptly addressed the power crisis in Siquijor and Siargao. In compliance with the directive of President Marcos, NEA expedited repairs on power generation gensets and also facilitated the transport and installation of additional gensets from the Palawan Electric Cooperative to help secure electricity supply. Recently, the NEA, under the direction of DOE, facilitated the execution of an emergency supply agreement which will provide Siquijor with an installed capacity of 17 megawatts and a dependable capacity of 12.5 megawatts, well above the province peak demand. The NEA, in collaboration with Proshelco and the new power producer rapidly constructed, tested, and commissioned the new power plants to ensure reliable and sustainable power for the province. Likewise, power returned to Siargao, Bukas Grande Islands, which endured 13 days of blackouts after commissioning a 4-megawatt modular generator set. The generator set was part of the imported alternative sources of electricity delivered by the neighboring cooperatives to Siargao. Currently, Siargao secured approval from NEA for loan availment to finalize the construction of the new 69 kV submarine cable distribution line from Barangay Cagdianao to Barangay Doña Helen and Barangay Bagakay to Dapa in Surigao del Norte, and switching stations to address the overloading issue and accommodate the Siargao Island's growing power demand. Masbate was among the areas placed under state of calamity after Typhoon Opong. Through the Task Force Kapatid, we were able to restore the down 1,200 distribution backbone poles. In less than 19 days, we were able to restore the distribution backbone. And at present, household restoration is now at 80%. So we expect full household restoration by the end of the month. Indeed, the NEA Task Force Kapatid demonstrated relevance with its steadfast commitment to solidarity and prompt disaster response, especially during the onslaught of the 5 major typhoons in 2024, Julian, Christine, Marcy, Nika, and Pepito, which affected 22 electric cooperatives, while in 2025, Task Force Kapatid responded to Tropical Cyclone Emong, which affected 2 ECs. Tropical Cyclone Nando, which affected 1 EC, and Tropical Cyclone Opong, which impacted 4 ECs. Among NEA's other accomplishments and as part of its commitment to leave no EC behind, the NEA has conducted competitive selection process for 19 ECs, both on off-grid and on-grid and off-grid, in accordance with the prevailing DOE and ERC CSP guidelines. Through these CSPs, the NEA has assisted cooperatives in securing stable and competitively priced electricity. It is also noteworthy that the Civil Service Commission recognized NEA for adopting its Prime HR and received the Prime HRM Bronze Award Maturity Level 2. Moreover, NEA was able to maintain its existing ISO 9001-2015 certification, adhering to the principle of good governance, and was awarded as a top 3 ranking GOCC in fiscal year 2023 Corporate Governance Scorecard